In this video, I'll be installing coilovers and a sway bar on a 2001 NB Miata. It's my track car. For the coilovers, I went with VMAX Extremes, and for the sway bar, I went with the Racing Beat sway bar. And I purposely did not watch a lot of videos before I did this, and I didn't read a lot about it because I kind of wanted to see how difficult it was, and I wanted to do it my own way. I did not go with the long bolt method. So I'll go through all the steps, I'll show you the problems I encountered, and just the whole process. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Enjoy the video. Here's the before look, just a bone stock NB Miata 2001. Look at that big wheel gap. You could fit a soda can in there. The wheels are all sunken in. Little pencil wheels. And now for the after. Check out our Super Garage video series where we modified this garage and installed the lift. Step 1, get the car lifted, take the wheels off. Here's the OEM front suspension that I'll show you how to remove. Remove the sway bar end links. I break these loose with an impact. Clean up the threads, and then take it off with hand tools. I messed around with loading and unloading the suspension when I was doing this job, and it didn't seem to help much. Remove the large lower shock bolt. Loading it wasn't helping, so I'm unloading the suspension here. Remove the plastic under tray. It's just a couple of 10mm bolts. Remove the 4 sway bar bracket bolts. Then just get the sway bar out of the way. Unscrew these 2 top hat nuts. Here I'm just doing a test. I'm stepping on the brake and seeing how much the coilover moves. There is absolutely no room to get this coilover out the way it is right now. So like usual, I did my own thing. Remove the top hat from the coilover. My theory here was that I was already going to be using the spring compressors to remove the top hats from the OEM coilovers, so I might as well just disassemble the coilover when it's still attached to the vehicle. Just FYI, the long bolt method removes the long bolt that connects the upper control arm. I did not want to touch this bolt because my bolt looked pretty crusty and my upper ball joint boot was partially torn already, and I did not want to make it worse. This method works great, you just need the spring compressors. On the other side, I experimented with a couple new ways of getting off this coilover, like the zip tie method. Have you ever heard of the zip tie method? Well, it didn't work. So it was back to the spring compressors. After you get the spring off, just compress the shock with your hand, and you can pull it right out. Easy, boys. This is just a sneak peek. Don't get your hopes up. I threw the wheel on to see if there were going to be any fitment or rubbing issues, and Snapchat. Here I'm just showing how all the pieces go together for the coilovers, because you have to reuse some of the OEM stuff. But I did not pre-build them because in the way that I uninstalled everything, that's the way I install it too. So I'm going to put everything together part by part, starting with the top hat. First, install the top hat and secure it lightly with both of its nuts. Next, get the coilover down inside the crevice that's in the lower control arm. And then you can push down on the shock, get it to compress, install all the parts, and then let the shock rise up and go through the hole in the top hat. And then reinstall the bushings on top of the top hat and the nuts. Don't use any sort of impact on these nuts because they can be easily stripped. Ask me how I know. You can either add or remove load from the suspension to get these holes to line up better. Reinstall the lower bolt and nut on the coilover. Now it's time to reinstall the sway bar or the stabilizer bar. Here it is, brand new sway bar. The back coilovers are a lot easier, but they're not symmetrical, so each side is different and you have to be really careful. There's a left and a right coilover. The first step is to remove both end links, and you have to do this on both sides and then rotate the sway bar out of the way. Loosen the lower shock bolt. Remove the lower control arm outer bolt. I was trying to load the suspension to see if that would help here, and it didn't actually help on the Miata. I had better success when I unloaded the suspension and just let it hang. You can easily turn out the lower shock bolt now. Remove the trunk interior carpeting and the metal panel behind the driver's side. Just like the front coilovers, remove the two top nuts on the top hats. And just like the movies, the coilover should just fall out. This part's kind of for people who are not very familiar with spring compressors. So they're used to disassemble coilovers safely, so the top hat doesn't go shooting off because the springs have a ton of potential energy in them. You just want to progressively tighten each side, one and then the other side, one and the other side, and then do the same thing when you're loosening it. Just go one and then the other. Once you have it all the way compressed, you can take the top hat off safely. Once you have this all apart, it's time to build your rear coilovers with the OEM top hats. Make sure the adjustment collars are all the way down, and then you can just build the coilover. You can just push it down and spin the nut on. One person can do this. For these nuts, you always want to use hand tools. They don't have to be really tight. The coilovers that I bought came with a preset height specification where you want to start. Just make sure you check your literature and follow your literature for your initial height settings. The same goes with alignment settings. The coilovers you buy should come with their own alignment settings. You want to take it to a shop and have your car aligned the week after you do this. Installation in the rear is the exact opposite of uninstallation. After you get the coilovers in their slots, you want to hold them in place with the top nuts. With the lower suspension just hanging, you can push this lower control arm outer bolt into its passage. Right here, I'm turning this shock with that bolt to align it with its passage. Then stick the bolt through. Reinstall the sway bar end links. You're almost done. I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but I needed wood blocks when I lowered the car down. Now I'm going to install a front lip, and yes, this is the same day. I actually got this lip idea from Speed Academy. These are all tech screws. The tech screws help the lip conform to the contour of the front bumper, and then I installed 4 10mm bolts with washers so it wouldn't come off at high speeds. The moment of truth. How's it gonna look? Here's the final product. I just got it aligned. In a few weeks, we're gonna take it to Road America and shake it down a little bit more. It pulls some serious G's with this setup. It's really exciting to drive. Future plans for this car are to get a Mega Squirt ECU, tune that with the OEM motor, and then build the bottom end, do a custom turbo setup, and get a 250 horsepower reliable track car. If you're interested in seeing more NB Miata content, subscribe to the channel. I'll be posting more videos this summer on this vehicle. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, let me know. I can handle it. Thanks for watching the video.